Zara Erix stood at the edge of the cliff on Verita 7, her boots sinking slightly into the rocky terrain. The alien landscape stretched endlessly before her, a jagged horizon punctuated by the remains of an ancient civilization. Here, far from Earth's blue skies, humanity's legacy was a ghost of the past. And for centuries, the galaxy had regarded Earth as a backwater, insignificant, primitive, forgotten. Yet Zara had always believed otherwise. There was more to Earth's history than the universe was willing to acknowledge. This planet might just prove it. The wind howled, carrying with it the faint scent of rusted metal and decayed stone. Zara checked the readout on her wrist device. The coordinates matched. The signal from the archaeological team had led her here, to this desolate, windswept world at the far reaches of the galaxy. But what they had found was anything but desolate. She could feel the pulse of discovery in the air, a static hum that resonated deep in her chest. Her communicator buzzed, snapping her out of her reverie. "Captain Erix, do you copy?" It was her superior back at the Galactic Council's base. Zara's voice was steady, though her heart raced with anticipation. "I hear you. What's the situation?" "Unexpected find." The voice crackled. "Earth artifacts. Possible ancient technology. We need you to assess." Her pulse quickened. Earth artifacts? The thought seemed almost impossible. Earth, dismissed by so many as a dead end in galactic history, had nothing to offer. At least, that was what Orketh, the lead alien archaeologist, had always insisted. Zara had grown up in the shadow of that dismissal, fighting for recognition of humanity's influence on the galactic stage. And now, someone had found evidence that could prove her right. Zara clipped the communicator back onto her belt and turned toward the distant ruins. The ground beneath her feet vibrated slightly as the ship landed, its engines humming faintly. She moved toward the excavation site, her eyes scanning the horizon. The alien structures loomed over her, their stone surfaces marred by the passage of time, but still, something about them felt familiar. When she arrived, the excavation site was alive with activity. Alien archaeologists, their long limbs covered in dust and dirt, worked in silence, their focus unbroken by her arrival. They barely acknowledged her as she moved past them, their eyes locked on their tools and the remains of a civilization that had long since crumbled. At the center of the excavation stood Orketh. His insected frame towered over the others, his sharp mandibles twitching in irritation. Zara had worked with him before, briefly, and knew well his disdain for humanity's place in galactic history. To him, Earth was nothing but a relic of an insignificant past, better left forgotten. Zara approached, brushing dust from her jacket. Orketh didn't look up. "Captain Erix," he said, his voice flat. "I suppose you're here to investigate the human artifacts we supposedly found." His tone dripped with sarcasm, but Zara was undeterred. She had learned long ago to tune out the dismissive attitudes of those who viewed humanity with skepticism. "Not just artifacts, Orketh," she replied, her voice firm. "What you've found might change everything." Orketh finally turned his eyes toward her, his glowing green orbs narrowing. "Change everything? You're seriously suggesting Earth's insignificant past has some bearing on galactic history?" He gestured toward the ruins around them, his many eyes scanning the landscape. "This is a relic of an ancient species that had no connection to your primitive world." Zara clenched her jaw, refusing to let his words get under her skin. "I'm suggesting you may be wrong," she said quietly, her gaze scanning the excavation site. "I'd like to take a look at what you found." Orketh scoffed but nodded, stepping aside to reveal the dig site. Zara moved closer, crouching down to examine the exposed metal fragments. Her fingers brushed over the smooth surface of the metal, and she felt a spark of recognition deep in her chest. "This," she murmured, "this is no ordinary relic. I've seen symbols like these before, in ancient Earth texts." Her heart skipped a beat as she traced the faint markings on the metal. Symbols that had been thought to be nothing more than myth, symbols that told a story of a long-forgotten connection between Earth and other alien civilizations. Orketh's mandibles clicked in annoyance. "This is irrelevant," he said. "You're seeing patterns that aren't there." These are simply remnants of a species that was far beyond your people's comprehension. Zara ignored him, her mind whirring as she examined the artifact. She knew what she was looking at. Humanity had left its mark on the galaxy, far more than anyone realized. She had always believed that Earth was connected to something larger, something grander. But this was proof. The artifact wasn't just a relic. It was a key. Without warning, the ground beneath them began to tremble. Zara's hand shot out instinctively, steadying herself against the ancient stone wall. Orketh hissed in frustration. "What have you done?" he demanded. Zara's eyes darted toward the horizon as a low rumble echoed through the ground. The vibrations intensified, sending a wave of panic through the alien archaeologists. The artifact hummed. Zara's breath caught in her throat as a brilliant flash of light exploded from the center of the ruins. The ground trembled violently beneath her feet, and for a moment, it felt as though the very core of the planet was shifting. The artifact's energy surged, and the light intensified, blinding her for a split second. When the light faded, the air was thick with static. A metallic screech filled the air as the ground shifted, and a hidden chamber revealed itself, a door sliding open from the depths of the ruins. Zara took a step forward, her pulse racing. "I told you," she whispered to herself. "Earth's legacy is alive." Behind her, Orketh remained silent. For the first time, Zara saw a flicker of something. Uncertainty? Fear? He stepped back, as though realizing the gravity of what was unfolding. Zara turned to face him. "This isn't just an artifact, Orketh. It's a message. And I intend to find out who it's meant for." Before Orketh could respond, the chamber door creaked open fully, revealing a darkened room that seemed to pulse with ancient energy. The mystery had just begun. End of Chapter 1. Zara stepped cautiously into the dark chamber, her boots echoing softly against the stone floor. The air inside was heavy, thick with centuries of dust and the faint scent of something ancient. The walls shimmered with faint light, a subtle glow emanating from intricate carvings that seemed to pulse with life. The relic in her hand hummed, its energy alive, guiding her deeper into the unknown. Behind her, Orketh remained silent, his many eyes scanning the chamber with suspicion. Zara didn't need to look back to know he was uncomfortable. For all his confidence in his knowledge of ancient ruins, even he couldn't deny the power in the air. This wasn't just another archaeological site, it was something far more significant. She moved forward, tracing the carvings with her fingers, as if they were calling out to her. Each symbol, each pattern, felt familiar. The language of Earth's lost civilizations, the ones dismissed by so many, was etched here in a script she had studied in her youth. Ancient texts from Earth that spoke of far-reaching alliances and forgotten histories. The walls told stories she had only dreamed of. Orketh stepped closer, his voice cold. "This is foolishness, Captain. You're chasing shadows." Zara shot him a quick glance. "Shadows that could change everything." She didn't stop to argue. The message was here, hidden within the walls, waiting to be revealed. She stopped in front of a large, circular indentation in the center of the wall. It was perfectly round, unlike anything she had seen before. Her fingers hovered over the symbols around the edge, feeling the faint vibrations that seemed to emanate from the surface. There was no doubt in her mind now, this was human-made. Earth had left its mark here long before Orketh's species had even existed. "I need your help," Zara said, her voice low but urgent. "There's something in these symbols, something we've missed for centuries." Orketh hesitated for a moment before stepping forward. "I don't see the point," he muttered, but his tone held less certainty than before. "But if you must." Together, they worked in silence, deciphering the ancient language. As Zara translated the symbols, her heart raced with anticipation. The carvings spoke of a network, an alliance between Earth and several other advanced species. It wasn't just a simple trade route or cultural exchange. It was an entire galactic system built on shared knowledge, technology, and power. Then, as she pieced together the final part of the message, the floor beneath them trembled again, but this time the sensation was different. A low rumble vibrated through the stone, and a deep, resonating hum filled the chamber. Zara's eyes widened. It's activating. Activating? Orketha's voice was sharp with disbelief. This is impossible. We've only just begun to understand it. Zara ignored him, her attention fixed on the wall. A section of it began to shift, the stone grinding against stone, as if a door were opening. The chamber seemed to come alive, responding to the code she had unlocked. The hidden message from Earth was more than just a history, it was a key, and it was revealing itself piece by piece. Suddenly, a sharp click echoed through the room, and the door fully opened. Beyond it, a tunnel stretched into the darkness, the air thick with the promise of something ancient and powerful. Zara stepped forward, her breath catching in her chest. The relic in her hand pulsed harder, as if urging her onward. It was calling to her, and Zara knew she had to follow. "Captain, wait!" Orketha's voice was suddenly urgent, but Zara didn't stop. "You don't know what you're doing. The artifact's power, it's too dangerous." She glanced over her shoulder, her eyes hardening. "We're not backing down now, Orketh. We've come this far." He opened his mandibles, as though about to protest, but then seemed to think better of it. Zara could see the flicker of unease in his eyes. He was afraid. Not just of the unknown, but of what the truth might mean for his people and their place in the galaxy. Zara took a deep breath and stepped into the tunnel. The walls closed in around her, the air growing colder as they descended. The soft hum of the artifact was louder now, reverberating off the stone walls. She could almost feel it in her bones, as if the very foundation of the planet was responding to her presence. The tunnel led to a vast underground chamber. In the center of the room was an enormous pedestal, covered in layers of dust. The artifact's light seemed to focus on it, drawing her attention. Zara approached cautiously, her eyes scanning the room. It felt as though the room itself were waiting, as if the pedestal were expecting her. As she reached the pedestal, she placed the artifact carefully onto a small recess, its glowing surface aligning perfectly with the shape of the stone. There was a beat of silence. Then, with a low hum, the pedestal began to glow, filling the room with a soft, golden light. The symbols that had been etched into the walls and floor started to shimmer, as if the very room itself was coming to life. Zara's heart raced. "This is it," she whispered. "This is what we've been looking for." Orketh, standing at the entrance to the chamber, spoke reluctantly. "What are you seeing? What is it telling you?" Zara turned back, her face pale with the weight of what she had just uncovered. "It's showing us a map. A map of the galaxy, of Earth's place in it. We weren't just a forgotten planet, Orketh. We were at the center of an interstellar alliance." Orketha's eyes widened in disbelief. "That's impossible. The history we know is wrong," Zara finished for him. "This is the true history. Earth was the heart of something much larger. And now we've unlocked it." The room hummed louder, its energy building. Zara's mind raced as she took in the map that was slowly revealing itself in the air, a projection of stars and planets. Earth's symbol was at the center, radiating outward, connecting to dozens of other systems she had never even heard of. But as the map expanded, a darker symbol appeared at the far reaches of the galaxy. A symbol she didn't recognize, but one that seemed familiar in a way she couldn't explain. It pulsed ominously, drawing her attention like a beacon. Orketha's voice broke through her thoughts, his tone now filled with both awe and fear. "What is that?" Zara stared at the symbol, her stomach tightening. "I don't know," she whispered. "But I have a feeling we're about to find out." Suddenly, the pedestal trembled, and the glowing map flickered, like a signal being disrupted. Something, or someone, was trying to shut it down. Zara's eyes locked onto the map. "We need to stop them. Now." Before she could act, a voice echoed through the chamber, cold and distant. "You have opened the door, Captain Erix. And now, the galaxy will pay the price." The voice was alien, unfamiliar, and terrifying. And then, everything went dark. End of Chapter 2. The darkness swallowed them whole. The once humming pedestal fell silent, its glow extinguished as though the power that had surged through the chamber had been suddenly cut off. Zara's heartbeat echoed in her ears, the only sound in the stifling blackness. Her hand instinctively reached for the relic at her belt, hoping the artifact's faint glow would guide her. But there was nothing, just a crushing silence. Then, a whisper. Soft at first, like the murmur of the wind, but growing louder. It was a voice, one she didn't recognize, and yet there was something unsettlingly familiar about it. The voice reverberated through her chest, not just through the air, but in her bones. "You have opened the door," the voice said, cold and devoid of emotion. "And now, the galaxy will pay the price." Zara's breath caught in her throat. The air felt thick with something else, something ancient. She didn't know what to make of the voice. It wasn't like anything she had ever encountered. Alien, yes, but there was more to it, a presence that felt wrong. She had unlocked something far more dangerous than she could have imagined. "Who is this?" Zara called out, her voice breaking the silence, but no answer came. Instead, the darkness seemed to press in closer. Her hand instinctively grasped the relic tighter, its surface cool against her palm. Orketh was still standing near the entrance, frozen in place. Zara could feel the weight of his gaze, the tension in the air thickening by the second. He had been suspicious of humanity's place in the galaxy for as long as she had known him, but even now, she could see the doubt in his posture. "Captain," he spoke quietly, his voice laced with hesitation. "What have we done?" "We've unleashed something." Zara didn't reply at first. She took a step forward, her fingers brushing the now dark pedestal. The symbols on the walls had faded into oblivion, leaving the chamber feeling emptier than it had moments ago. The map that had once shown Earth's central position in a galaxy-spanning alliance had vanished, replaced by a hollow, oppressive silence. "I didn't open it alone," Zara said, more to herself than to Orketh. "This message, it was meant to be uncovered." "Uncovered?" Orketh echoed, a growl creeping into his voice. "You've released something far beyond our comprehension. This was not meant for us. It was buried for a reason." Zara felt a surge of anger. He didn't understand. None of them understood. The truth had been hidden for too long, and now that it was finally within reach, she wasn't going to let fear, or Orketh, stand in the way. "No, Orketh," she said firmly, turning to face him. "We're meant to understand it. To reclaim what's been erased." The voice spoke again, echoing through the chamber like a distant storm, but this time, it was closer than before. "Do you really think you're ready to uncover what was sealed away? The truth is not yours to claim." Zara's pulse quickened. There it was again, the sense of being watched. She could almost feel the weight of eyes upon her. The energy in the room seemed to shift, an electric tension pulling at the air. Zara was no longer alone. "Who are you?" she demanded, the words escaping before she could stop them. "Show yourself!" The room responded, or at least it seemed to. The walls trembled, and the floor beneath her feet gave a violent shudder, as if some great force was stirring beneath the surface. The whisper grew into a low hum, vibrating through her body, until it felt like the chamber itself was alive. "Foolish human," the voice hissed, now unmistakably bitter. "You cannot hope to comprehend the forces you have unleashed." Orketh stepped back, his eyes wide with realization. "This is not some ancient power. It's a warning. A curse. A force beyond us all." Zara clenched her fists. Fear began to creep up on her, but she pushed it down. Fear had never solved anything before. She had come too far, and she would not stop now. "We're not afraid of you," Zara called out, her voice steady. "We're here to uncover the truth, no matter what you say. You can't silence us." For a moment, everything was still. The hum of the voice ceased. The chamber's silence was deafening. Then, from the far end of the room, something moved. Zara's breath caught in her throat. A figure stepped out of the shadows, bathed in an eerie light that seemed to pulse with the same rhythm as the relic in her hand. It was humanoid in shape but translucent, shifting and flickering like a ghost, its features barely visible. It was the source of the voice, Zara realized. But it wasn't just any alien. This was something older, something that had been here long before Orketha's people had even evolved. You are not meant to awaken us, the figure intoned, its voice smooth and cold. But it is too late. The door is open. Zara's grip tightened on the artifact. What are you? And why have you been hidden? The figure's form wavered, as if struggling to maintain its shape. It raised a hand, pointing toward the relic in Zara's palm. That is the key. The key to all that was once erased. The truth, the power, and the darkness that has been hidden. But it will not come without a cost. The chamber seemed to grow colder as the figure's words settled into the air. Zara's heart thudded in her chest as she tried to process the gravity of what was unfolding. A key? To what? Orketh stepped forward, his voice a tremor in the silence. What is the cost? What do you mean? The figure's face twisted into something resembling a smile, but it was more of a grimace than any form of joy. The cost is the truth you are not ready for. The truth of Earth's rise and its fall. The truth of what you have unwittingly brought back. You will face it, and you will regret it. Zara swallowed hard, but she stood her ground. We are ready. We've been ready for this moment our entire lives. The figure seemed to consider her for a moment before it spoke again, its voice now tinged with something darker, more final. Very well, human, it said. You wanted the truth. Now you shall have it. With a wave of its hand, the chamber exploded with light, blinding, overwhelming. Zara's body stiffened as the artifact in her hand began to resonate at an intensity she had never felt before. The walls seemed to pulse with energy, and a deep, resonant hum filled the air. Then, as quickly as it had come, the light receded, and the chamber was silent once more. But Zara knew that nothing was the same. The figure had gone, leaving only the echoes of its warning. Zara's eyes darted to Orketh. The look on his face was one of pure fear, fear of what they had just awakened. And, for the first time, Zara wasn't sure if they were ready for the truth they were about to uncover. The chamber was still. Too still. Zara's hands trembled slightly as she gripped the relic, its once gentle hum now a low, almost imperceptible vibration running through her fingers. The walls around her flickered, the ancient symbols dimming and then brightening in a rhythm that mirrored her own racing heart. The figure, the being, had disappeared into the shadows, leaving a thick, suffocating silence in its wake. Orketh, still standing by the entrance, looked as though he had aged a century in the span of a few minutes. His normally rigid posture was now slack, his eyes wide with a mixture of awe and terror. We've done something irreversible. Zara ignored him, her mind focused solely on the relic. It had always been meant for this moment. For her. This is what I've been searching for, Zara whispered, almost to herself. The key to humanity's true legacy. To all of us. Orketh scoffed. Legacy? If what that being said is true, then your legacy is buried with Earth. You're digging up things better left forgotten. She turned toward him sharply, her voice steady but with an edge. No, Orketh. We've been kept in the dark. They tried to bury us. Earth was never meant to be forgotten, not like this. He stepped forward, his many eyes narrowing in frustration. And now you've uncovered it, what good does that do us? You think we can just… He cut off, his mandibles clicking together with agitation. If we are to know this truth, do we even have the right to? Zara could feel the weight of his words, but she couldn't back down now. Not after everything. Not after feeling the pull of the artifact, of the power it represented. We do. We have to. The universe deserves to know. A sudden coldness swept through the chamber, stronger than before, and Zara's blood ran cold. A deep, guttural sound vibrated through the walls, resonating in her bones. The relic pulsed fiercely in her hands, as if reacting to the growing darkness around them. And then, out of the shadows, the figure reappeared. It wasn't a simple apparition anymore. Its form was clearer now, more defined, but still ghostly. It floated in the air, its ethereal body flickering in and out of focus, like a hologram projected through layers of distortion. You wanted the truth, it intoned, its voice far more resonant this time, echoing around the room with a deep, unsettling reverberation. But some truths are too dangerous to reveal. You cannot unsee what you've unlocked. Zara stepped back, a cold chill crawling down her spine. Who are you? She demanded, her voice barely above a whisper, but filled with determination. What are you? The figure flickered again, its face shifting between various alien features, none of them entirely clear. We are the ones who watched over humanity's rise, and we are the ones who watched it fall. You stand at the precipice of a truth that will destroy everything you know. Orketha's voice broke through the tension, shaky and full of fear. I knew it. The galaxy will not let this truth go unpunished. You've awakened something terrible. Zara shot him a look. I don't care what the galaxy thinks. We've been silent for far too long. The figure's form distorted, rippling like water disturbed by a stone. You speak of silence, but it is not silence that haunts you. It is the memory of those long lost, those forgotten, because they chose to forget themselves. Zara's heart began to race. The figure's words were cryptic, but she could feel the weight of them. It wasn't just about Earth. It was something deeper, something that connected every species in the galaxy, something that had been wiped from existence for a reason. A reason she still didn't fully understand. What do you want from us? Zara's voice was firm, demanding an answer. Tell me what this truth is. For a moment, the figure remained silent, as though considering its response. And then it spoke, its voice colder, darker. The truth is that Earth was never meant to be. Not in the way you think. Humanity's rise was the result of forces beyond your control. Forces that shaped your past, and now your future. You cannot stop what has already begun. Orketha's posture shifted again. You're saying humanity was manipulated? That Earth's history wasn't natural? The figure nodded, a dark ripple running through its translucent form. Earth's place in the galaxy was not a mistake, but it was always a lie, a carefully crafted illusion. The truth you seek lies within the power that was hidden from you. Zara felt a rush of realization wash over her. Power? The relic, the artifact. It's not just a map, is it? It's a key to something much larger. The figure's response was slow, deliberate. Yes. And no. The artifact is not just a key. It is a trigger. A trigger that will unlock the forces humanity was never meant to wield. Zara's breath hitched. The artifact in her hands pulsed again, stronger now. The vibration thrummed through her body, and she could almost see it, the future, the potential, dark, chaotic, powerful. You are the ones who sealed this away, Zara said, realizing the truth. You knew what it could unleash. And you locked it all away. The figure's voice darkened, its tone filled with a bitterness that sent chills down Zara's spine. We had no choice. To let Earth remain in the galaxy's fold would have meant the end of us all. Your species was never meant to rise as you did. Zara felt the weight of the figure's words, the implications of its admission. It wasn't just about one planet, one species. It was about the balance of the entire galaxy, the fragile peace that had been maintained for eons. And now, humanity had unknowingly threatened that balance by uncovering what had been buried. Orketha's voice quivered, almost pleading. What do you want from us now? The figure shifted, its form flickering like a dying star. Nothing. You have done what was needed. The future cannot be undone. A silence stretched between them as the weight of the figure's words settled into Zara's bones. There was no going back now. The truth had been unleashed, and with it, the future was no longer hers to control. I won't stop, Zara said, her voice strong, unwavering. Humanity deserves to know. We will rise. The figure's form wavered, its presence growing faint. Rise, then. But know this, some truths will consume you. Humanity's place in the galaxy is written. What you do with that knowledge is your burden to bear. As the figure faded, Zara felt the full weight of what they had uncovered. It wasn't just the truth about Earth, it was a door to a future yet to be written. And now, The galaxy would have to reckon with it. And so would she.